Good morning, I'm Chris Fox, and today we're talking about how I launched TechMage into the top 300 on all of Amazon, making it a bestseller in its category and giving it one of those nifty orange bestseller tags. So this book is doing extremely well out of the gate, so well in fact that I was able to get a nifty screenshot of it temporarily beating Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer. So Brandon Sanderson is the king of epic fantasy, and my book, granted it's a 99-cent ebook, but ever so temporarily is beating Brandon Sanderson. And today I'm going to show you how I did that. So we're going to go over the launch strategy that I used, which it's nothing new if you follow the channel, but it is executed well. You're going to see that I go over the principles that I cover in books like Write to Market, Launch to Market, and Six-Figure Author, and that's what I did. I implemented them here, and this is carrying the book to success. So without further ado, let's jump into my screen. We're going to take a look at the book and at how it's performing so far and sort of how I've gotten it where it is. So we are looking at my Facebook ads account, and what we're looking at is the reach, really, the number of people that these ads have hit. Now, not all of these are for TechMage. Some of them are for the rest of my backlist, but a lot of them are. And what I did for the first 2 weeks of this book is zeroed in on my audience. I put this in front of, a good 50,000 people trying to figure out who would be interested in this book. And it cost me a pretty penny. I spent between $400 and $500 in the first 2 weeks just figuring out who my audience was. I wanted to know kind of who would be interested in this book. I thought about a bunch of different potential audiences, people who might be into it, and then I tested it to make sure that they were. And, some people surprised me, some didn't, but I ended up with a bunch of different ads that I can run to different audiences that engage, that actually convert, that are selling. So it was expensive for me to set this up, but you can see here why it was worth it. This is the rank for all time of TechMage. So I first listed it as a pre-order on September 1st. You can see it started at 147,000. I immediately bought my own book because that's what I always do. I buy my first book as soon as it's available, but I told no one else. And I just let it sort of float. And so you can see a few people are finding it. The rank is kind of gradually ticking up as more people are finding it. But then on September 7th, I started my very first ad. I made one $5 AMS ad. And this single ad, it looks amazing. You're like, wow, it went from 49,000 to 3,000. Well, that's unfortunately not actually what happened. I started the $5 ad, and I think, I can't prove this, but based on what I witnessed, I start the ad and I wake up the next morning to being way, way better in rank. I start looking around and asking author friends, and as it turns out, Amazon started sending mailers on September 7th to my fans saying, hey, this pre-order is available, and that's why the rank jumped so dramatically. But interestingly, this occurred on the exact same day that I started my first AMS ad. So coincidence? Maybe. Correlation obviously does not equal causation, but it's curious, and it is possible that starting ads is enough to get Amazon to start promoting this project on their own. But in any case, you can see that the rank starts to slide. I still only have that one $5 in a day ad running. We've dropped down to 10,000 and then eventually to 11,000. And it was on September 11th that I decided to turn on more advertising, and this is where I started that Facebook experimentation that you just saw in the last segment. And you can see immediate results. So I start experimenting with Facebook, my rank begins to jump. I'm not doing a ton of experimenting early on, so it went from 11,700 to 8,200, and then it kind of hangs out for a little bit. I'm sort of playing around and tweaking. It's gradually rising day by day as I learn more and I refine and I zero in on my audience. And I got good enough where with the same rough amount of spend, which is, $40, $50 a day, I was hitting 3,500 in terms of rank, and then right before the book came out, it got all the way up to 2,700 in the store. So my pre-order was doing enormously well. I had almost 500 pre-orders, and most importantly, I figured out who my audience was and got it in front of them. So now Amazon knew on launch day exactly who to show my book to, and that those people would probably buy it, and I'll show you why in the next segment, why that's the case. But looking at the rest of the ranking, here's the first day of release, and you can see it peaked at number 298 in the store on release day, which is not at all bad. Even for me, who normally has launches, my record is 202, I didn't do a lot to launch this book, and I got most of the results that I've done on previous books. So for the Ganon Wars, I spent thousands of dollars in advertising the first week, And I had comparable results to this. I got to 202 instead of 298. So I think that I can actually beat Ganongor's rank and spend less on advertising this time around because I'm doing it more intelligently. And here we are the next morning. The current rank is 327 in the store. It started to slide a little bit. I expect it'll slide more today. I have some promotion ready, but my big day for promotion is not until tomorrow, so it'll probably keep dropping to today, and then hopefully by the time you see this on Friday morning, this rank will be even better, fingers crossed. I mean, if it's not, I'd still be totally happy. The book is doing great, but I really am hoping to break into the top 100 for the first time ever in my life. That would be wonderful. If not, I still love my little book, but if I did, I would definitely throw a party. Anyway, let's look at the book itself. So this is why the book is doing as well as it is. There's really a 3-step process to selling a book. First step is identifying your audience, and that's what I was doing through the Facebook ads. Second step is making a compelling book that they are almost certainly going to want to buy, that they are compelled to buy. And the third stage is to get it in front of them. So this is stage 2. This is me making something that I wanted people to be invested in. You can see my title is very straightforward, Tech Mage, that evokes certain imagery. I've got this wonderful guy in power armor and orbit. You can see he's got a rifle, a spell rifle in his case, and dragons underneath him. So the cover gets people's interest. They then look at my tagline, and this is one of the most important things in the product page. For those of you that have been following the videos, you remember maybe that the first tagline was plundering magic from dead gods. The second one was a man with no past fighting for his future. And the current one is enslaved and forced to fight dragons. And the reason for these changes and experiments is because I understand how vital this line is. A really good tagline will dramatically increase your sales, and sure enough, when I started using this one, that's exactly what happened. My conversion on my Facebook ads went up by over 100%. Everything started doing better. So I tested a bunch of different taglines, and right now this is the winner. This is the one people are responding to. And the takeaway is not that you need the words enslaved and dragons necessarily in your tagline, just that your tagline needs to really complement your cover and get the reader to ask, I wonder what this book is about. And if they do, they get to read the blurb. Hopefully your blurb is compelling. This is the most compelling one that I have been able to write and workshop with my author friends. Seems to be converting pretty well. And you can see as we scroll down here that my also bots are very healthy. Most of these books have magic in them. Those that don't are still somewhat similar. So this one over here, my buddy J.N. Chaney, this book is more Firefly-ish. You've got Izzy Shows, a good friend of mine, who just put out Provoked one day before my book. Very similar premise, and definitely worth reading if you find that you like Tech Mage. But there's a reason that she's my #1 also bot. And you can see that if you go a few pages in, we're still seeing very similar books. It's all very well related and exactly the kind of stuff that I want to see on launch day. So this is kind of where I needed and wanted the book to be. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see it's placing #1 in its category in military. This is where I got my wonderful screenshot of beating Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, I get 33 cents a sale, and he probably gets like $15. Yeah, he's got 4 out of the top 5 spots, but hey, I'm beating him ever so briefly. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to show you on the product page at least is just kind of scrolling down here to the categories. So a lot of people will cram their book into as many categories as is humanly possible. I'm not a fan of this. I do have a lot of categories for this book, but I feel like every one of these categories is somewhere where the book belongs. And there are other categories, I could have put it in coming of age fantasy, but this isn't a coming of age fantasy, and I don't think that it is worth forcing your book, shoehorning it into categories where it doesn't belong. So that's the product page. This is largely why the book is selling as well as it is, because I'm driving a whole bunch of people here. They're in an audience that likes magic and likes, military science fiction. They really love this stuff, and so I'm presenting it to them in a new way. So it's too early to know really how this book is going to do long term, but this is how I launched it into the top 300, and hopefully it's going to stay there. And you can see that it's now getting a level of exposure that's just insane. If you come to any number of these subgenres and you click, you're going to see that I'm in the top 3 new releases. So I'm getting hundreds of thousands of impressions a day of people seeing this. And if they're just looking down the list, they're seeing my book as well. I think I'm number 21 overall in science fiction as a whole as of this recording. So I think Yeah, there I am. So I'm at number 21. So out of all the books in the world right now selling in science fiction, I am number 21 of them. And then if you go to new releases, I am number 5 in the world out of all new releases for all science fiction books. So I couldn't be more thrilled. This is a validation of the principles that I test in Write to Market, in Launch to Market, and in Six Figure Author, showing you guys once again that this stuff does work. So if you have questions on how I managed to launch this or do this, please post them in the comment. The vast majority of what is happening here is simply me advertising to the right audience. I'm doing less in the way of newsletter swaps than I did with Ganog Wars. I have a few of those going on, but not as many, because I think that Amazon's going to do most of the heavy lifting if I can simply continue to advertise to the right audiences. So anyway, I hope you guys find this video useful. I am really excited about the series. I've already started working on Voidworm, and am into the writing on that, and I'm having tremendous fun with it. So guys, I'm going to get back to exactly that. I hope that, again, this video is useful. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, but I'm going to get back to the writing.